90 Days to a New Identity. The missing manifestation step no one talks about. If I told you that your entire life could change in just 90 days, not because you tried harder, not because you set new goals, not because you repeated affirmations endlessly, but because you shifted your identity, would you believe me? Most people never discover the missing step of manifestation. They visualize, they journal, they think positive, but something still feels blocked. And the truth is simple. You cannot manifest a new reality while being the same person internally. In this video, you're going to understand the one principle that the wealthiest people, the most successful entrepreneurs, and the most fulfilled creators on the planet know but rarely explain. Identity first, reality second, and once you understand this, your life, your finances, your confidence, your energy, your results, everything begins to shift. Let's begin. Topic 1. The real reason manifestation fails, and why identity is the master key. Most people don't fail because manifestation is a lie. They fail because they're trying to manifest an entirely new reality while still living from an old identity. And this is the truth nobody talks about. Not in self-help books, not in manifestation tutorials, not in motivational speeches. It sounds almost too simple, but it's the foundation of every transformation you've ever admired. Your identity, the story you tell yourself about who you are, is the invisible architect of your destiny. And unless that identity shifts, your results will not change, no matter how many affirmations you repeat, no matter how many vision boards you create, and no matter how deeply you wish for a different life. Think about your results for a moment. Your income, your habits, your relationships, your opportunities, your courage or lack of courage, your fears, your behaviors. All of it has come from the identity you've been living from. If you identify as someone who always struggles financially, your subconscious will find ways to keep you in that narrative. If you see yourself as not good enough, you'll hesitate, shrink, or self-sabotage when opportunities appear. If you carry the identity of someone who is unlucky, you'll unconsciously reject or distrust the moments that could elevate you. Identity is not just psychological, it's neurological and energetic. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment to keep your identity consistent. This is Neuroscience 101. Your subconscious wants stability more than success. It wants safety more than expansion. So when you try to manifest a version of life that contradicts the identity you've been living with for years, your brain activates resistance. Not because you're not worthy, not because manifestation is fake, but because the identity hasn't changed yet. Look at any self-made millionaire. Look at people like Oprah Winfrey, who was born into poverty and trauma, and yet built herself from the inside out before she ever had external success. Long before she had a talk show, a network, or a global brand, she had already built the identity of a woman who was worthy of abundance, influence, and love. She didn't manifest success by accident. She manifested it because she became someone who expected it, welcomed it, and aligned with it. Her identity expanded before her life did. Or consider someone like Jeff Bezos. Before Amazon became a trillion-dollar empire, he didn't identify himself as someone limited by a garage business. He saw himself as a disruptor, a visionary, a builder of something that would change the world. The identity came first. The success followed. Even when he was shipping books by hand and writing code on the floor, he operated with the identity of someone building the world's most customer-centric company. Reality bent around that identity. The same pattern exists with every major success story. Tesla wasn't built from the identity of a car company. It was built from the identity of a technological revolution. Nike wasn't built from the identity of a shoe supplier, but from the identity of victory, possibility, excellence. Disney wasn't built from the identity of cartoons, but from the identity of imagination itself. Identities create realities. Now, compare this with how most people approach manifestation. They want abundance while holding the identity of someone who is constantly broke. They want love while carrying the identity of someone who is unworthy. They want success, but identify as someone who always fails. They want new opportunities while seeing themselves as someone who is not ready. They want confidence, but still embody the identity of someone insecure. And then they wonder why the universe feels silent, why things don't change, why their manifestations seem blocked. The universe isn't withholding anything. It's responding to who you believe you are. Identity is the frequency you broadcast. Identity is the signal you send. Identity is the subconscious story that tells the universe, this is who I am and this is what I expect. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe is normal for someone like you. That's why shifting identity changes everything. The moment you become someone who expects wealth, wealth starts appearing. The moment you become someone who embodies confidence, opportunities find you. The moment you become someone who thinks like a creator instead of a victim, the universe rearranges itself around you. When people tell me manifestation doesn't work, what they're really saying is this: I tried to manifest something that didn't match the identity I was living from. And of course it didn't work. It's like trying to upload new software into an old system that can't run it. The desire is there, but the identity rejects it. The conscious mind says yes, but the subconscious says no. And the subconscious always wins. This is why the next 90 days are so powerful. Because in 90 days, you can rewrite the identity that has shaped every result you've ever had. You can unlearn the beliefs that kept you small. You can detach from the story you inherited from your past or your environment. You can choose a new internal blueprint, one that matches the reality you actually want to live. You can step into the identity of someone who expects success, assumes abundance, welcomes wealth, and trusts their own power. Identity is the missing step, because identity is the foundation. When you shift your identity, you don't have to force manifestation. You don't have to fight for change. You don't have to beg the universe. You simply align. And alignment is effortless when identity matches desire. You're not trying to become the future version of yourself. You are that version. And the universe responds to who you are, not who you pretend to be. This is the beginning of your 90-day identity shift. The moment you choose who you truly are and who you are no longer willing to be. Topic 2. The identity loop. How your brain keeps you trapped in your old reality, unless you break it. There is a psychological trap that almost everyone falls into, and it silently shapes your entire life without you realizing it. I call it the identity loop. It's the cycle where your beliefs create your behaviors create your results, and your results reinforce your beliefs. And because the loop keeps feeding itself, most people live the same year of their life again and again, calling it experience. But the truth is more painful and more liberating than that. They're not living from experience. They're living from identity. Imagine your identity as a thermostat. If you set a thermostat to 20 degrees Celsius and open all the windows, the room temperature might change temporarily, but the system will fight to bring everything back to 20 degrees Celsius. Your identity works the same way. You can have moments of success, a new job, a random opportunity, a sudden burst of motivation. But if your identity isn't aligned with that success, your internal thermostat will pull you back to what feels familiar. Not because you're not capable, but because your identity is programmed for a different reality. This is why people lose weight and gain it back. Why they save money, then spend it recklessly. Why they start businesses, then self-sabotage. Why they attract healthy relationships and then unconsciously ruin them. Why they have moments of clarity and then fall into old habits. The problem isn't knowledge or strategy. The problem is identity. Your brain seeks consistency, even if that consistency keeps you stuck. And until the identity shifts, nothing else will. Think about Michael Jordan. He wasn't just someone who played basketball. His identity was that he was the greatest. That identity shaped everything: his work ethic, his discipline, his ability to come back stronger after failure, his hunger for excellence. His results didn't create his identity. His identity created his results. He became legendary because he saw himself as legendary before the world did. The loop was rewired at the source. Think about Steve Jobs. He didn't identify as a CEO. He identified as a revolutionary. That identity shaped every product Apple ever created. The iPhone, the Mac, the iPad, they were not just products. They were expressions of his internal identity of possibility, disruption, and beauty. Had he carried the identity of a businessman, Apple would have never become what it is. Identity preceded innovation. In neuroscience, this identity loop is known as self-confirmation bias. Your brain constantly looks for evidence that supports who you believe you are, even if that belief limits you. If you think you're not a confident person, you'll behave in ways that confirm it. If you believe you're not lucky, you'll unconsciously ignore opportunities. If you believe you're bad with money, you'll make decisions that sabotage your finances. And when the results reflect that belief, your brain says, "See? This is who we are." The loop continues. But here's the liberating truth. The loop can be broken. Identity can be rewritten. In 90 days, you can build a new internal narrative that leads to new actions, new opportunities, new behaviors, and new realities. And once the loop shifts, everything begins to change. Your brain stops fighting against your goals. It starts fighting for them. One of the most powerful examples of breaking the identity loop is found in the story of Jim Carrey. Before fame, he wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered and carried it in his wallet while living in poverty. Why would someone do that? Because he wasn't trying to manifest money. He was manifesting identity. He was training his subconscious to believe, "I am someone the world pays millions." That identity shift shaped his decisions, his level of commitment, his willingness to take risks, his energy, his presence, everything. Years later, he received a paycheck for exactly $10 million for Dumb and Dumber. But the manifestation didn't start with money. It started with identity. Or look at companies like Airbnb. They started with two guys renting air mattresses on the floor of their apartment. Their circumstances screamed small. Their identity whispered global. And that identity got louder with every rejection, every challenge, every step forward. They broke the loop by refusing to identify as just a small startup, even when they had every reason to. Their identity shaped their destiny. This identity loop is why most manifestations feel blocked. You want something new, but your subconscious identity keeps you aligned with the old. You consciously say, "I want abundance," but your identity says, "I'm someone who struggles." You consciously say, "I want confidence," but your identity whispers, "That's not who I am." You consciously say, "I want success," but your identity pulls you back to familiar habits. The conflict isn't between you and the universe. It's between your future identity and your current one. When you understand this loop, you stop blaming the process. You stop blaming the universe. You stop blaming luck. You start understanding that manifestation isn't about attracting something external. It's about shifting something internal. The moment your identity aligns with your desire, the resistance dissolves. The moment you become the version of you who naturally attracts what you want, you stop hustling for outcomes and start aligning with them. The next 90 days of your life can be a full identity upgrade, but only if you're willing to confront the loop that's been controlling your destiny. You must become conscious of the beliefs that have shaped you. You must question the internal story you've been repeating for years. You must bring awareness to the identity you've inherited from your past, your family, your environment, and your fears. And then you must rewrite it, deliberately, intentionally, powerfully. The identity loop is strong, but it's not unbreakable. You can become someone new. You can live a different story. You can shift into a different emotional frequency. The loop only continues if you let it. And once you break it, the life you've been trying to manifest finally becomes available to you, not as a dream, but as a natural extension of who you are. Topic 3. Why your future self already exists, and how to align with that identity. There is a version of you, a wealthier, wiser, more confident, more abundant version that already exists in the field of infinite possibility. And I don't mean this metaphorically. I mean this from the perspective of neuroscience, psychology, and quantum potential. Every choice you make is a vote for the identity you want to reinforce. Every thought you entertain strengthens one version of yourself or weakens another. Your future self isn't waiting for you at the finish line. Your future self is created moment by moment, habit by habit, belief by belief. The problem is that most people imagine their future self as someone distant, someone they might become one day, instead of realizing that every day is shaping the identity that eventually becomes their destiny. Think about it. Every successful person you admire, whether it's Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, Jim Rohn, or Jay Shetty, didn't suddenly become who they are today. They aligned themselves with the identity of their future self long before their external reality reflected it. Warren Buffett wasn't a billionaire when he first started investing, but he identified as someone who understood money, who made smart decisions, who thought long-term. That identity shaped his choices. His choices shaped his results. His results shaped his reality. And eventually, reality caught up to what his identity had already decided. So many people misunderstand manifestation because they think it's about getting things. More money, more love, more success, more opportunities. But manifestation is not about acquisition. It's about alignment. You attract the reality you are emotionally and energetically aligned with, which means your future self isn't something you chase, it's something you tune into. When you mentally embody the identity of someone confident, abundant, and capable, your brain begins to filter the world differently. Doors that were invisible suddenly appear. Solutions that felt impossible reveal themselves. People who can help you, guide you, mentor you, collaborate with you, begin to show up. This isn't coincidence. This is identity alignment. In neuroscience, this is called self-directed neuroplasticity. Your brain changes based on the identity you practice. If you repeatedly think, "I'm someone who grows every day," your brain rewires to support growth. If you think, "I am someone who succeeds," your brain begins to search for opportunities to confirm that identity. If you think, "I am someone who is worthy of abundance," your behaviors start reflecting that worthiness. And when the brain shifts, everything else shifts with it. Look at Elon Musk. He didn't start with rockets or electric cars. He started with identity. Before SpaceX, before Tesla, before everything that made him famous, he identified himself as someone who solves impossible problems. That identity filtered his choices. He didn't ask, "Can I do this?" He asked, "How do I do this?" And because the identity was aligned with innovation, the universe matched that frequency. His future self already existed in his mind, and he aligned with it through every decision he made. Your future self is already living the life you want, the income you desire, the confidence you crave, the energy you admire in other people, the clarity, the discipline, the abundance. It already exists as a potential identity, but you must choose it. You must connect to it. You must begin acting, thinking, speaking, and deciding like that version of you right now. Otherwise, that future self remains a fantasy instead of becoming your reality. And this is where manifestation becomes truly powerful. You're not trying to create something from nothing. You're stepping into a version of yourself that already exists in your consciousness. You're not forcing the universe to give you something. You're aligning with what's already there. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to identity. If you want abundance, you must embody the version of you who already feels abundant. If you want success, you must embody the version of you who already believes success is natural. If you want to transform your life in the next 90 days, you must mentally live as the person you want to become, not as the person you've been. Think about Jeff Bezos again. Not the billionaire CEO, but the man packing boxes on the floor of his garage. His reality screamed limitation. His identity whispered future empire. Had he identified himself as a bookstore owner, Amazon would have stayed small. Instead, he identified as someone building the future of commerce. That identity guided every decision for decades. He wasn't living from the identity of the present. He was living from the identity of the future. That's how you build a trillion-dollar company. Or take the example of Starbucks founder Howard Schultz. He didn't come from wealth. He didn't have advantages. But he identified himself as someone who could elevate a simple cup of coffee into an international experience of connection, community, and comfort. That identity guided his vision. His vision guided his actions. His actions created a global brand. Your future self is whispering the same identity shift to you. It's saying, there's more. You're meant for more. You're capable of more. But you must become the person who can hold the life you want. Because manifestation without identity alignment is like pouring abundance into a broken container. It leaks. But the moment your identity matches your desire, you become a container capable of receiving it, holding it, and expanding with it. This is why the next 90 days are not just about habits or goals or routines. They're about identity alignment. When you align with your future self consistently, mentally, emotionally, energetically, you speed up your manifestations. You accelerate your growth. You collapse timelines. You unlock opportunities that felt impossible before. You literally shift into a different version of yourself, and that version of you lives a different life. The future you want already exists. The question is simple. Will you align with it? Topic 4. How your subconscious programming shapes your destiny, and how to reprogram it in 90 days. Your subconscious mind is the operating system of your life. It controls 95% of your thoughts, decisions, habits, emotional reactions, and expectations. And here's the truth that shocks most people. Your subconscious identity was formed long before you ever had a say in it. Childhood experiences, social conditioning, cultural beliefs, unhealed memories, repeated messages from parents, teachers, and even society, all of this created the identity you carry today. And that identity quietly decides how far you allow yourself to go. Think about this for a moment. If your subconscious mind believes life is hard, you will experience struggle even when opportunities are right in front of you. If your subconscious mind believes you're not enough, no amount of success will feel safe or sustainable. If your subconscious mind believes you're supposed to live in survival mode, you will unconsciously sabotage abundance the moment it appears. This is not personal, it's programming. But programming can be rewritten. Your subconscious mind is programmable. That is the most empowering truth you will ever learn. Every belief you hold today was learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. Anything programmed can be reprogrammed. And this is the foundation of the 90-day identity shift. In 90 days, you can systematically rewire the patterns that kept you stuck for years. You can dissolve limiting beliefs, you can install empowering ones, you can literally create a new internal environment that supports the life you want. Look at people like Tony Robbins. He didn't become Tony Robbins because of circumstances. He became Tony Robbins because he rewired the subconscious identity he inherited from a childhood filled with pain, instability, and chaos. He used neurolinguistic programming, repetition, visualization, emotional conditioning, and identity work to uninstall the identity of a struggling, hurt, confused kid and install the identity of a powerful force for change. That identity shaped his destiny, and he teaches millions to do the same. Or consider the rise of Starbucks. Howard Schultz grew up in a poor housing project in Brooklyn. His subconscious identity could have easily been shaped by limitation, scarcity, and hopelessness. Instead, he deliberately reprogrammed himself with a new internal narrative, that he was someone capable of building a global company based on connection, humanity, and experience. That subconscious identity shift changed everything. Without it, Starbucks would have never gone beyond a small Seattle coffee shop. This concept is powerful because it tells you something essential. You are not trapped by your past identity. You are shaped by it, but you are not ruled by it. Your future is flexible. Your identity is fluid. Your subconscious mind is plastic and adaptable. The question is whether you consciously choose to reprogram it or unconsciously let old programming run your life. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural pathways. But here's the part most people don't realize. Neuroplasticity is activated by repetition, emotional intensity, and identity-based thought. When you repeatedly tell yourself, I am someone who grows. I am someone who attracts abundance. I am someone who creates success. I am someone who receives with ease, your brain begins to believe you. And once your brain believes you, it shifts your emotional patterns. Your emotional patterns shift your behaviors. Your behaviors shift your results. Your results reinforce your identity. This is the loop, the identity loop, but now working for you instead of against you. One of the most important lessons you'll ever learn about manifestation is this. Your subconscious identity is always manifesting. It manifests your fears. It manifests your doubts. It manifests your expectations. It manifests your sense of worthiness. And when you shift your identity, you shift what you manifest. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you subconsciously believe you deserve. That belief is the frequency, and your frequency is your reality. Now, let's go deeper. Your subconscious mind operates through patterns called dominant emotional states. If your dominant emotional state is fear, your manifestations reflect that. If it's scarcity, your opportunities shrink. If it's doubt, your potential collapses. But if your dominant emotional state becomes abundance, trust, confidence, gratitude, or empowerment, your entire energetic field changes. And in 90 days, you can shift your dominant emotional state permanently. Think of Oprah again. Her identity shift wasn't only mental, it was emotional. She built the emotional identity of someone who is worthy of love, respect, abundance, and influence. She didn't force the universe to give her opportunities. She became someone emotionally aligned with the opportunities she desired, and the universe matched her identity. Or think of companies like Google. They didn't become one of the most influential companies in the world because of luck. They built a subconscious corporate identity, a culture, that aligned with innovation, intelligence, curiosity, and boldness. That identity shaped their products. Their products shaped their results. Their results reinforced the identity. Even corporations have subconscious programming. That programming decides their fate. The same is true for you. The reason the next 90 days can transform your life is because you will be reshaping your subconscious identity intentionally. And once your identity shifts, your subconscious stops fighting against abundance and begins supporting it. You stop sabotaging yourself. You stop doubting yourself. You stop shrinking. You stop accepting less than you deserve. And you begin operating from a new inner truth. I am someone who attracts success. I am someone who becomes the best version of myself. I am someone who is aligned with my future. This is why the missing step of manifestation is identity. Because identity controls the subconscious, and the subconscious controls your reality. You can only rise to the level of the identity you truly believe you are. And when you shift that identity, you shift everything. The next 90 days are not about forcing change. They're about becoming someone for whom change is natural. Topic 5. The Future Self Method. Becoming the version of you who already has the life you want. There is a secret that the wealthiest, most successful, and most fulfilled people on the planet understand almost instinctively. Something they rarely explain because they assume everyone else already knows it. But most people don't. Most people spend their entire lives wishing for a different future while continuing to think, act, and behave like their past. They dream big, but show up small. They want abundance, but embody scarcity. They desire transformation, but continue living as the exact same version of themselves. The result? The future they want stays out of reach. The secret is this: the version of you who has the life you want already exists, and you must become that version internally before you ever see the results externally. This is the core of the Future Self Method, and it will change your life if you apply it for the next 90 days. Think about your future self for a moment. The version of you who is financially free, confident, abundant, fearless, disciplined, aligned. Imagine this person clearly: how they walk, how they speak, how they make decisions, how they handle challenges, how they respond to opportunities. That version of you is not a fantasy. It's a psychological, emotional, and energetic blueprint. And your job is to align with that blueprint. This isn't about pretending. It's not about faking confidence or forcing excitement. It's about embodying the emotional identity of who you want to become. When you think like your future self, your brain rewires. When you act like your future self, your habits shift. When you speak like your future self, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, the universe responds. Take a moment and think about the people you admire most. People like Oprah Winfrey, Jeff Bezos, Jim Rohn, Sarah Blakely, Jay Shetty, Robin Sharma, or even corporations like Amazon, Apple, Starbucks, or Google. None of them became successful by growing into their future slowly and linearly. They became who they are by aligning with the identity of their future self before the evidence existed. Sarah Blakely didn't wait until she became a billionaire to think like a billionaire. She imagined it first. She embodied it first. She stepped into the identity of someone who could create a global brand even when she was selling shapewear out of her living room. The version of her who changed the world already existed in her mind. She simply aligned her actions with that identity long before the world saw it. Oprah didn't wait for her network to tell her she mattered. She embodied the identity of someone valuable when she had nothing. She embodied abundance long before she had wealth. She embodied worthiness long before she had recognition. That internal identity, that emotional decision, was the seed of everything she later became. Jeff Bezos saw the future of e-commerce when the world was still terrified of buying books online. He didn't identify himself as a guy packing boxes. He identified himself as someone building the future of marketplaces. That identity shaped every decision he made, long before Amazon became the empire we see today. This is what successful people do. They live from the identity of their future self, not their present circumstances. And here's where the real power of the future self method comes in. When you consistently align with the identity of your future self, your subconscious mind begins to accept that identity as your new normal. And once the subconscious believes it, it begins to pull your reality toward that identity like a magnet. You stop forcing success and start attracting it. You stop chasing abundance and start embodying it. You stop hoping for confidence and start living in it. The reason most people fail is because they do the opposite. They align with their present self instead of their future self. They let their current bank account dictate their identity. They let their current confidence level dictate their choices. They let their past failures dictate their expectations. They let their fears dictate their actions. And as a result, they remain stuck in the same emotional and behavioral patterns for years. But you are not your circumstances. You are not your past. You are not your limitations. You are who you decide to be. And the next 90 days give you the chance to decide again. Imagine this. Every morning for the next 90 days, you wake up as if you are already the future version of yourself. You think like them. You walk like them. You make decisions like them. When fear shows up, you react the way your future self would, not the way your past self would. When opportunities arise, you take action as your future self, not as the insecure or hesitant version of you. When challenges appear, you handle them with the emotional strength of the person you're becoming. This is not acting. This is identity alignment. In neuroscience, this is called mental rehearsal, the technique used by professional athletes, surgeons, entrepreneurs, creators, and performers to embody success before it happens. Michael Phelps didn't become the greatest Olympian of all time by relying solely on physical training. He visualized the race. He lived it internally. He embodied the winner before the medal existed. His brain experienced victory so many times that his neurology began to adapt to it. This is the same technique that world-class performers in every field use, because identity comes before reality. The Future Self method trains your subconscious to believe that the life you want is normal for you. When something becomes normal, it becomes easy. When it becomes easy, it becomes natural. And when it becomes natural, it becomes inevitable. Think about the energy of someone who has achieved everything you desire. They don't rush, they don't beg, they don't force, they don't fear. They move with certainty, they move with clarity. They move with the emotional frequency of someone aligned with their purpose. You can tap into that energy now. You don't need money to embody abundance. You don't need success to embody confidence. You don't need achievements to embody worthiness. You just need identity alignment. This is the missing step of manifestation that no one explains. Your future self is not a fantasy. It is a psychological anchor, a spiritual frequency, a neurological roadmap. And when you align with it, your entire life begins to bend toward that identity. The next 90 days are not about becoming someone new. They're about remembering who you were always meant to be. And finally, stepping into that version of yourself without hesitation, without fear, without delay. Your future self is waiting for you. And the moment you align with them, everything begins to shift. Topic 6. How to break your limiting beliefs and install a new wealth identity. Limiting beliefs are not just thoughts. They are internal identity anchors that hold you in the same reality over and over again. They are the invisible walls you keep running into, the boundaries you never cross, the emotional ceilings that make you snap back to the same level of confidence, income, discipline, or opportunity no matter how hard you try to grow. Most people don't realize that limiting beliefs are not evidence of who they are. They are evidence of the identity they've been repeating. And if you don't consciously break these beliefs, they become your destiny. To break limiting beliefs, you must understand how they were created. You were not born believing you weren't good enough. You were not born believing money is hard. You were not born believing you must settle, shrink, or survive. These beliefs were downloaded into your subconscious through repetition, emotional experiences, inherited narratives, and childhood programming. They feel like truth, but they're just memories wearing costumes. Think about how many people are raised hearing phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, life is hard, people like us don't succeed, you have to struggle to survive, or don't dream too big. These statements may seem harmless or even protective, but they install powerful identity scripts. When repeated often enough, they become the foundation of your subconscious worldview. They become the rules you unknowingly play life by. They become the identity you unconsciously defend, even when you want the opposite. The first step to breaking limiting beliefs is awareness. You must bring these subconscious scripts into the light. You must recognize the beliefs that have shaped your current identity. You must ask yourself, whose voice is this really? Is this belief mine, or did I inherit it? Does this belief protect me, or does it limit me? The moment you observe a belief consciously, you weaken its power. The second step is questioning the belief. You must challenge it, interrogate it, expose its weakness. Most limiting beliefs fall apart under the slightest pressure because they were never rooted in truth. They were rooted in fear. For example, if your limiting belief is, "I'm not good with money," ask yourself, who taught me that? When did I first believe that? What evidence do I actually have? You'll notice that limiting beliefs rarely survive logical examination. They only survive emotional repetition. The third step is replacing the belief with a new identity, not affirmations, identity. You don't transform your life by saying, "I'm rich," when your subconscious screams the opposite. You transform it by saying, "I am someone who is learning how to manage money with confidence," or "I am someone who attracts increasing levels of abundance every year," or "I am someone who is expanding into wealth with ease and certainty." The identity must feel believable, emotionally aligned. This is how you begin building a new internal narrative. Look at the story of Sarah Blakely again. She didn't become a billionaire because she believed she was destined to struggle. She replaced her limiting identity with an empowering one. She grew up watching her father ask one question every night: "What did you fail at today?" That question rewired her subconscious to believe that failure wasn't proof she wasn't good enough. Failure was proof she was growing. Most people inherit the opposite belief, but she broke the pattern. And that identity became the foundation for Spanx, one of the most successful companies ever built by a self-made woman. Or consider Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba. He was rejected from dozens of jobs. Harvard rejected him over 10 times. Most people would have adopted the identity of someone who wasn't capable of achieving greatness. But he broke the limiting belief by choosing a new identity. "I am someone who will build a company that helps small businesses thrive." That identity became the seed of Alibaba, a company valued in the hundreds of billions. Breaking limiting beliefs is not abstract. It's strategic. It's a neurological process called cognitive reframing, combined with emotional reconditioning. You catch the belief, you question it, you replace it, and then you reinforce the new identity until it becomes the new normal. This is the backbone of identity transformation. But here's the part most people miss. Limiting beliefs don't disappear through force. They dissolve through replacement. You don't fight old beliefs, you outgrow them. You don't wrestle with your fears, you expand beyond them. As your new identity grows stronger, the old one stops making sense. It stops matching your future. It stops feeling like you, and eventually, it fades. This is why the next 90 days can be life-changing. You are not just breaking limiting beliefs. You are installing a wealth identity, a mindset of abundance, a blueprint of prosperity, a new emotional baseline aligned with confidence, clarity, and growth. When you break the belief, "I'm not enough," you start making decisions from a place of worthiness. When you break the belief, "Money is hard," you begin seeing opportunities everywhere. When you break the belief, "Success is for other people," you start behaving like someone who naturally attracts success. This is when the universe begins to respond differently. Wealth identity is not about arrogance or delusion, it's about alignment. It's about choosing the identity of someone who expects abundance, receives abundance, and expands abundance. The wealthiest people in the world, from Warren Buffett to Rihanna, from Jeff Bezos to Oprah, all carry a strong internal identity around money. They don't fear it. They don't chase it. They don't worship it. They understand it. They align with it. They expect it. That expectation is the emotional frequency of wealth. Companies have wealth identities too. Apple has the identity of excellence. Amazon has the identity of dominance. Starbucks has the identity of experience. Google has the identity of innovation. These identities shape their results. Your identity shapes yours. The next 90 days give you the chance to break the identity that kept you small and install the identity that allows you to rise. This is the missing step of manifestation. When you break the limiting beliefs keeping your identity locked in the past, the future opens. You become someone who doesn't just attract abundance. You become someone who embodies it. You are not your limitations. You are the identity you choose to build next. Topic 7. The power of environment. How your surroundings shape your identity and your manifestation results. There is a truth that almost no one realizes until much later in life. Your environment is not neutral. It is either pulling you toward your future identity or dragging you back into your past. Your surroundings, the people you talk to, the conversations you have, the media you consume, the energy you tolerate, the habits you witness, the spaces you live in, all of it is constantly shaping your subconscious identity. And because identity shapes manifestation, your environment becomes one of the strongest forces determining whether your life expands or stays exactly the same. Most people underestimate this. They believe they can change their mindset while staying in the same emotional, social, and physical surroundings. But identity is relational. Identity is environmental. Identity is activated by what you're exposed to every day. If you live in an environment of scarcity, your identity will mirror scarcity. If you live surrounded by chaos, your nervous system will default to survival. If you live in a space filled with negativity, doubt, comparison, and fear, your subconscious will adopt those frequencies, even if consciously you want the opposite. This is why so many people try to manifest a new life but can't feel aligned with it. They're trying to create abundance inside an environment programmed for lack. They're trying to manifest confidence while their surroundings keep reminding them of insecurity. They're trying to step into a new identity while everything around them reinforces the old one. Let's go deeper. Think about the story of Howard Schultz again, the man who transformed Starbucks into a global brand. He grew up in a poor housing project, surrounded by limitation. But what made him different was not talent. It was not luck. It was the moment he stepped into a new environment, working at a Swedish houseware store that prioritized customer experience. He saw another world, a world where connection mattered, a world where design and emotion shaped behavior. That environment altered his identity. It expanded his vision. It gave him a new internal blueprint, and that blueprint became the soul of Starbucks. Your environment is that powerful. Or look at Steve Jobs. His obsession with simplicity didn't come from books or business degrees. It came from Zen monasteries, calligraphy classes, and artistic environments that elevated beauty and intention. Those environments reshaped his identity. He didn't just build computers. He built tools for human expression, tools that married technology with elegance. That identity was born from the environments he immersed himself in. Even gym culture shows this. People who struggle to stay consistent alone suddenly transform when they're in an environment where fitness is normal, expected, celebrated. Their identity shifts simply because they see themselves reflected in the people around them. Environment normalizes identity, and identity normalizes behavior. Take the story of Conor McGregor. Before the fame, before the championships, he was a plumber's apprentice in Ireland. But he stepped into the environment of a gym filled with fighters, surrounded by work ethic, surrounded by ambition, surrounded by people who treated greatness as something achievable. That environment rewired him. It activated a new identity. And from that identity came the self-belief that carried him to global success. Now think about your own life. How many of your beliefs about money, success, relationships, and self-worth were shaped by your environment? How many of your fears came from the people around you? How many of your limitations were learned through observation? How many of your habits were absorbed unconsciously from your surroundings? Environment is one of the greatest forces of identity, and the universe responds to your identity, not your wishes. This is why the next 90 days must include an environmental shift. You cannot build a millionaire mindset in a scarcity-driven environment without consciously protecting your energy. You cannot manifest abundance while surrounded by people who only focus on fear, gossip, drama, or limitation. You cannot develop the identity of your future self while living in the emotional frequency of your past. But here's the empowering truth. You don't need to change your entire external environment at once. You need to create identity-aligned environments, pockets of energy that reinforce who you're becoming. This can mean curating your digital environment. Who do you follow on social media? Do they expand your identity or shrink it? Do they inspire greatness or normalize mediocrity? Just changing what you consume is enough to shift your subconscious identity. It can mean curating your physical space, decluttering your home, creating a workspace that reflects your future self, filling your surroundings with colors, words, symbols, or objects that elevate your emotional frequency. You'd be shocked how many people try to manifest abundance while living in spaces that feel heavy, chaotic, or energetically stale. It can mean curating your social environment, spending less time with people who drain you and more time with people who uplift you, even if those people are authors, mentors, entrepreneurs, or creators you connect with digitally. You don't need to know someone personally for them to influence your identity. Your subconscious mind adopts the energy of anyone you consistently learn from. This is why many people experience breakthroughs after joining new communities, courses, masterminds, gyms, spiritual circles, or professional networks. It's not magic, it's environment. They step into identity-expanding spaces, and their subconscious begins to rise to match the frequency of the room. And here's the final truth. Your environment doesn't just influence your identity, it reveals it. A cluttered space reflects a cluttered mind. A chaotic social life reflects chaotic self-worth. A stagnating environment reflects stagnating beliefs. When you upgrade your environment, your identity naturally rises with it. Look at companies again. Google's environment is designed around innovation, open spaces, creativity zones, interaction hubs. That environment reinforces the identity of excellence and experimentation. Apple's environment is designed around precision and minimalism. Every detail reinforces the identity of simplicity and mastery. The environment teaches employees who they are supposed to be. Your environment teaches you the same. You want to manifest a new reality? Reshape the environment that shapes you. Make your surroundings a mirror of your future self, not your past self. Nothing accelerates identity transformation faster than environmental alignment. Because when your environment matches your future, your identity rises to meet it. And when your identity rises, manifestation begins to feel less like effort and more like destiny. Topic 8. The 90-Day Identity. Coding process. How to rewrite your inner blueprint step by step. Identity is not something you hope into existence. It is something you build deliberately, consistently, intentionally, until your subconscious accepts it as your new baseline. And the truth is that identity transformation does not require years of therapy or decades of trying. It requires a structured period of emotional, mental, and behavioral recalibration, done consistently for a defined amount of time. That is why 90 days is so powerful. 90 days is long enough for your brain to create new neural pathways, long enough for your subconscious to accept new beliefs, long enough for new habits to form, and long enough for a new identity to emerge. Think of these 90 days as identity coding, the process of installing a new internal operating system. Just like a computer needs updated software to function at its highest level, you need an updated identity to manifest the life you want. Your past identity was coded through repetition, emotional intensity, and environment, and so will your future one. Let's break this down through the lens of neuroscience and storytelling so you can feel how this process rewires your reality. Identity coding begins with choice, a decision, a moment where you say, I no longer identify as the version of me who struggles, who doubts, who fears, who hides. This decision is not loud, it's not dramatic, it is internal, quiet. But once made, it begins to create an energetic crack in the old identity. That crack becomes a pathway. That pathway becomes a new narrative, and that narrative becomes your new internal truth. This is exactly what happened with people like Oprah, Sarah Blakely, Jim Rohn, and even corporations like Nike and Starbucks. Every story of transformation begins with an identity shift. Nike didn't become Nike because of shoes. It became Nike because of identity. The company decided it would represent greatness, excellence, victory. That identity became its compass, and every decision reinforced it. Identity coding works the same way for you. Your 90-day identity shift begins with a decision. For the next 90 days, I will think, speak, act, and choose from the identity of my future self, not my past self. Once you make that decision, the next phase is pattern disruption. This is where you interrupt the habits, thoughts, behaviors, and emotional reactions that kept your past identity alive. You do not need to eliminate every pattern overnight. You simply need to disrupt them the moment they arise. When insecurity appears, you pause and ask, "Is this how my future self responds?" When scarcity shows up, you ask, "Would the abundant version of me think this?" When fear whispers, you ask, "Is this aligned with who I am becoming?" This questioning breaks neurological automaticity. It weakens the old identity and strengthens the new one. Then you enter the third phase, embodiment. This is where you intentionally live as the version of you that already exists in your future. Embodiment is not acting. It is aligning. It is choosing the thoughts, emotions, and decisions of the identity you want to become. For example, your future self wakes up with clarity, so you begin your mornings with intention. Your future self values health, so you nourish your body with care. Your future self attracts abundance, so you stop speaking scarcity. Your future self moves with confidence, so you correct your posture, your voice, your presence. Your future self invests in growth, so you learn, you evolve, you upgrade. Your future self takes aligned risks, so you begin acting courageously. Every time you behave like your future self, you strengthen that identity. Neuroscientists call this self-directed neuroplasticity. It means you are actively rewiring your brain to match who you want to become. Athletes use this process before major competitions. Entrepreneurs use it before launching empires. Leaders use it before taking positions of influence. Even spiritual teachers use it to embody higher levels of consciousness. Identity is always upstream of results. The fourth phase of identity coding is emotional calibration. This is where you train your nervous system to feel the emotions of your future self. Abundance, safety, confidence, trust, worthiness, even before the external evidence arrives. This is the most misunderstood part of manifestation. You cannot manifest abundance while emotionally vibrating scarcity. You cannot manifest confidence while emotionally vibrating doubt. You cannot manifest new opportunities while emotionally vibrating fear. Your emotional identity determines the frequency you broadcast to the universe, and the universe responds not to your desires, but to your emotional state. This is why people like Tony Robbins, Jim Carrey, Conor McGregor, and countless self-made millionaires emphasize emotional mastery. They understand that you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are emotionally. They train their nervous systems for abundance long before they see it physically. The fifth phase of identity coding is environmental alignment, something you learned deeply in the previous topic. You must surround yourself with spaces, people, energies, and habits that reinforce the identity you're building. When your environment changes, your identity adapts. When your identity adapts, your behaviors shift. When behaviors shift, manifestation accelerates. But perhaps the most important phase of identity coding is the final one, reinforcement. Identity is not built in a moment. It is built through repetition, through micro-decisions, through consistent alignment. The brain learns through frequency, not intensity. This is why 90 days is such a powerful time frame. It gives your brain and subconscious enough repetition to make the new identity stick. Think about Jeff Bezos again. The identity of the man building the future of commerce had to be reinforced through thousands of decisions. Decisions made before the money, before the fame, before the success. Your future identity will be reinforced in the same way. Every day you make choices aligned with your future self, you are installing new subconscious code. You may not see the external results immediately, but the internal transformation will be undeniable. Your thoughts will shift first, then your emotional responses, then your behaviors, then your opportunities, and finally, your entire life. This 90-day identity coding process works because it follows the laws of psychology, neuroscience, manifestation, and human behavior. It transforms you from the inside out. And when the inside changes, the outside has no choice but to follow. The question is no longer, can I change my life? The question is, am I willing to spend the next 90 days becoming the version of me who already has the life I want? Because when your identity changes, your destiny changes with it. Topic 9. The emotional frequency of abundance. How to feel rich before you are rich, and why this changes everything. There is a hidden law of manifestation that almost everyone misunderstands. Abundance is not something you achieve. It is something you embody. It is not a number in your bank account. It is not a title. It is not fame, status, or material luxury. Abundance is an emotional frequency, a state of being, a vibration of openness, possibility, and expansion. And here's the part people rarely grasp. You must feel abundant long before you become abundant. Your emotional frequency is the energetic magnet of your life. Your emotions send signals to your subconscious mind and the universe about what you believe to be true for you. If you feel scarcity, even when you want abundance, you send a signal of lack. If you feel fear, even when you want opportunity, you send a signal of contraction. If you feel unworthiness, even when you desire success, you send a signal of resistance. That is why some people work so hard but experience very little change. They are emotionally aligned with the opposite of what they desire. But when you shift your emotional frequency to abundance, something remarkable happens. You begin to notice opportunities you previously ignored. You begin to take actions you would have been afraid of. You begin to speak with clarity. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to feel worthy. You begin to move like someone who belongs in the life they want. And this is the key. Your emotional frequency shapes your identity, and your identity shapes your reality. Let's look at real-world examples, because emotional abundance is not abstract. It's practical, measurable, and visible in the lives of successful people. Consider Oprah Winfrey again. Long before she became a media icon and billionaire, she carried herself with emotional abundance. She cultivated gratitude, generosity, compassion, and self-worth. She spoke from a place of power, not fear. She treated her ideas as valuable before the world recognized their value. This emotional identity became the foundation of her empire. Her external abundance was a reflection of her internal abundance. Or think about Richard Branson. He radiates abundance, not because of his money, but because of his emotional state. He approaches life with excitement, curiosity, boldness, and playfulness. That emotional frequency makes opportunities gravitate toward him. It attracts collaborators, investors, creators, and visionaries. People want to be around abundance because abundance feels like expansion. Meanwhile, people who vibrate scarcity repel opportunities without realizing it. Scarcity energy feels tight, hesitant, fearful, and closed. Abundance energy feels open, trusting, confident, and expansive. And here is the truth. The universe responds to energy faster than it responds to effort. This is why your emotional frequency is more important than your to-do list. Your frequency builds the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Your frequency tells the universe what you believe you deserve. Your frequency shapes your identity, and your identity shapes your manifestations. Think about Conor McGregor. Before he had wealth, fame, or global recognition, he embodied the emotional frequency of a champion. He carried himself as if he belonged on the world stage long before the world acknowledged him. His confidence wasn't arrogance, it was emotional identity. And because his emotions aligned with victory, his actions naturally followed. The universe matched his energy with opportunities that aligned with the identity he embodied. Now let's turn this inward. What emotional frequency have you been broadcasting? Have you been emotionally rehearsing fear, doubt, survival, stress, and insecurity? Or have you been emotionally aligning with trust, confidence, abundance, gratitude, and certainty? Your subconscious mind mirrors your emotional patterns. If your dominant emotional state is fear, your identity will reflect fear. If your dominant emotional state is scarcity, your identity will reflect scarcity. If your dominant emotional state is shame, your identity will limit you to avoid rejection. But when abundance becomes your emotional baseline, your identity transforms. You begin to live from the emotional level of your future self. This is why emotional frequency is one of the most powerful tools for identity transformation. When you feel abundant, you begin to think abundant thoughts. You take abundant actions. You make abundant choices. You speak abundant language. You attract abundant outcomes. Emotional frequency is also the reason why gratitude is one of the most effective abundance practices in the world. Gratitude shifts your nervous system from survival into expansion. It lowers cortisol, increases serotonin, strengthens your prefrontal cortex, and activates the brain's reward pathways. Gratitude tells your subconscious mind, I am safe, I am supported, I am abundant. From that emotional state, manifestation accelerates. This is also why visualization works, not because the images are magical, but because the emotions they generate are magnetic. When you visualize your future life and feel the emotions associated with it, joy, peace, freedom, excitement, empowerment, your subconscious begins to believe that this emotional state is normal for you. And when the emotional state becomes normal, your identity shifts. And when identity shifts, your reality follows. Even companies carry emotional frequencies. Think about Tesla. The company vibrates the emotional frequency of innovation, boldness, and disruption. That emotional identity attracts a certain type of talent, investor, and customer. Apple vibrates the emotional frequency of simplicity, mastery, and design excellence. That frequency influences how people feel about the brand and how loyal they remain to it. Your personal brand, your identity, works the same way. You are not manifesting things. You are manifesting emotional states. And the things you desire are reflections of those emotional states. Want wealth? Cultivate the emotional frequency of abundance and worthiness. Want success? Cultivate the emotional frequency of confidence and clarity. Want love? Cultivate the emotional frequency of safety and openness. Want opportunities? Cultivate the emotional frequency of readiness and courage. The universe doesn't respond to your dreams. It responds to your emotional alignment with them. This is why the next 90 days are so powerful. When you deliberately train your emotional frequency, you accelerate identity transformation. You recondition your nervous system. You shift your baseline from scarcity to abundance. You begin to live at the emotional level of your future self. And once you do, everything begins to change with surprising speed. When you feel rich before you are rich, you activate the identity of someone who naturally attracts wealth. When you feel confident before you have evidence, you activate the identity of someone who walks into opportunities. When you feel worthy before you're validated, you activate the identity of someone who refuses to settle. Feeling abundant is not delusion. It is preparation. It is alignment. It is the emotional foundation of manifestation. The universe responds to your emotional truth. Make abundance your truth, and your reality will rise to match it. Topic 10. The moment everything changes. Becoming the new you, the final 90-day transformation. There comes a moment in every transformation, every breakthrough story, every reinvention, every rise to greatness, where you realize nothing external can change until something internal shifts permanently. It's the moment when you stop hoping for a miracle and finally understand you are the miracle. The moment when you stop waiting for the universe to give you a sign and recognize the sign is your desire itself. The moment when you stop living from the wounds and fears of your past identity and step boldly into the emotional frequency of your future self. That moment is now. This is the moment everything changes. For your entire life, you've been shaped by layers of programming, expectations, beliefs, environments, emotions, and identities that were handed to you before you even knew who you were. But now, for the first time, you're consciously rewriting your story. You're no longer the person who reacts to life. You're becoming the person who designs life. You're not living from the identity you inherited. You're living from the identity you choose. This is the essence of a true 90-day transformation. It's not about working harder. It's not about forcing discipline. It's not about grinding your way to success. The 90-day transformation is about alignment, becoming someone new from the inside out. The world's most successful people understand this deeply. Think about Michael Jordan again. His external success was just a reflection of his internal identity, the identity of a champion, a leader, an unstoppable force. Long before the world called him the greatest, he believed it. He embodied it. He trained like it. He prepared like it. His results were simply the external echo of an internal truth. Think about J.K. Rowling. Before the world read Harry Potter, she imagined herself as a storyteller whose words could change lives. That identity carried her through rejection, depression, poverty, and uncertainty. Her external reality at the time had nothing resembling success, but her internal identity said otherwise. And the universe always responds to identity. Think about Howard Schultz. Think about Jeff Bezos. Think about Oprah. Think about Sarah Blakely. Think about Elon Musk. None of them waited for permission to shift their identity. They decided who they were becoming, and reality adjusted to match their decision. Now let's return to you. You stand at the threshold of your next chapter, and the next 90 days will shape everything. Your financial trajectory, your emotional frequency, your self-image, your manifestations, your confidence, your opportunities, your relationships, your wealth identity, everything. But the shift doesn't begin with action. It begins with identity. Who are you choosing to become? Not who you were yesterday, not who you were trained to be, not who life conditioned you to become, not who your past identity kept you trapped as. Who are you choosing to become now? Take a breath and imagine it. The version of you who wakes up confident, grounded, and powerful. The version of you who feels worthy of wealth and opportunity. The version of you who acts decisively, chooses wisely, and trusts deeply. The version of you who is emotionally aligned with abundance. The version of you who thinks with clarity, speaks with certainty, and moves as someone with purpose. The version of you who is no longer held hostage by insecurity, fear, or limitation. The version of you who finally knows who they are and who they are becoming. That version of you is not imaginary. That version of you is not distant. That version of you is not someday. That version of you exists right now as a potential identity, a frequency, an emotional state, a mindset, a blueprint you can align with immediately. And here is the most profound truth of the entire video. You do not manifest your future. You manifest your identity. Your identity manifests your future. This is why the missing step of manifestation has always been identity. This is why so many people do everything right, but get no results. This is why affirmations fail when identity remains unchanged. This is why visualization works only when it is felt emotionally. This is why action becomes effortless when identity is aligned. And this is why the next 90 days hold the power to transform your entire life. Once you shift your identity, you shift your expectations. Once you shift your expectations, you shift your behaviors. Once you shift your behaviors, you shift your opportunities. Once you shift your opportunities, you shift your results. Once you shift your results, you shift your destiny. Identity is the root. Reality is the fruit. For the next 90 days, the transformation is simple but profound. Be the person you want to become. Think like them, feel like them, act like them, choose like them, speak like them, live like them. Because once your identity matches your desire, manifestation is no longer something you chase. It's something you attract. It becomes natural, inevitable, obvious, effortless. You don't fight for abundance. You embody abundance. You don't struggle for success. You align with success. You don't beg the universe for miracles. You become the version of you who naturally lives inside miracles. This is the moment your old identity fades. This is the moment your new identity begins. This is the moment everything changes. Not because you are forcing change, but because you are becoming someone for whom change is natural. Your future self is calling you. Answer boldly. Answer fully. Answer with the identity that was always meant to rise. Your next 90 days begin now. If this video awakened something inside you, if it helped you see who you're becoming, then take a moment right now to reinforce your new identity. Subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to this frequency of abundance and transformation. Like this video if it made you feel something shift inside. Comment below which identity you are stepping into for the next 90 days. Claim it publicly. And share this video with someone who's ready to rise with you. Your new identity is waiting. Let's walk into it together.